Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At AnfieldIndex, we've teamed up with LiverpoolFC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride in style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
It's done.
Connor McDavid! It's not real!
The goal of the year,
Panarin!
part of the past. The celebrations, forgotten. The history,
Vegas Golden Knights!
history. We're back to a blank slate. Clean ice. All that matters now is what happens next. The Stanley Cup playoffs.
Eastern Conference Final begins Wednesday.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America NA, member FDIC.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Transfer Podcast. We're there again. We're on the edge of the transfer window. It's amazing how quickly these things roll around. Not only do we have a new gaffer involved in the choices, but we have a whole new backroom staff. It's a new era. It's post-Klopp. It all feels a bit surreal, Dave.
Mate, even the two ladies, Pauline and Linda in the canteen, probably shouldn't feel safe at the moment at Liverpool. It is all sea change, but makes it interesting for us, doesn't it? And everything else that's going on at the moment. So let's hope it carries on for the rest of the summer.
The man said yesterday, change is good. And I'm of the opinion that he's exactly right. I'm one of those, get yourself out of your security zone, get yourself out of your safety blanket, get yourself out of your comfort, and see what happens. And at least I preach that. I don't always do it. And I think it might be a very, very interesting time for us. We've spoken at length about on various shows about how the squad is decent, and it's the Klopp Liverpool 2.0 under Klopp, and it's just the beginning. So let's just see how things pan out. But of course, what we're concerned about primarily here on this show is what is happening in terms of how that job is going to get done. And of course, Michael Edwards is a big figure. We've spoken about him already.
Yeah.
But since you and I spoke last, there's a new addition. Julian Ward is back. And listen, dude, I'm going to just let you go off on a run here because there's so much to talk about. You're going to have to build in this Marquez fella. If you don't mind maybe explaining a bit about Marquez's background, who he is. Not everyone will know that. Maybe remind people who Hughes is, what role exactly he has. Not everybody will know that or be just au fait with it. I think a lot of people had their fingers planted firmly in their ears and saying things like la, la, la for a long time because nobody wanted to envisage the reality we're living today, which is post-Jurgen Klopp Liverpool. So with that in mind, it would be no harm for you to just sort of lay out who all these people are as you go through Mickey Edwards getting the band back together.
Yeah, talk about change, Trev. We've gone from Jurgen Klopp's full English with like the sausage and the bacon and everything. We have gone full continental, and Michael Edwards has even thrown the melon and everything in there, to be honest, mate. I mean, yeah, the band's back together, as you say. We all know Edwards is the new Mike Gordon, and now Julian Ward's back. But it's important to say, Trev, Julian Ward is not back as an LFC employee. It's an FSG. It's all about our three-letter acronyms and getting those right today. So his overall role is technical director of Liverpool's academy, the loan department, group-wide elite player development strategies. I tell you what, you'd get that on LinkedIn, wouldn't you? An establishment, and I like this, the new innovation department as well. So very much they're looking to see, with the multi-club, what can they do? What can they change in that regard? So he's got a prominent role. Now, you mentioned Marquez. He will report in towards specifically. Obviously, Portuguese background, Portuguese fellow, well known for his work with Benfica and their academy. We know the talent, shall we say, Benfica's developed over time as well. So he's seen as an expert in player development, career pathways, there's some buzzwords, isn't there, as they put out, coaching methodologies, that type of thing, and performance analysis, very much working on a younger basis. And the suggestion is that if you ask around, Alex Inglethorpe is likely to stay as the director of the academy, and obviously will work closely with Marquez and obviously have that passing on to him and looking at things that way. But they are both, Marquez and Ward, can't reiterate enough, FSG employees, not Liverpool FC. It's really important to say that. Thinking, why are we talking about that so much? Because it brings other things into it. It's all gearing up for the multi-club model, Trev. Keep that in mind. Liverpool have gone European. From full English, we are now European. Big Arnie will report into Richard Hughes, won't he? The sporting director, who's also assisted by David Woodfine at the same time, who's back. But very much like that European model where your head coach reports into your sporting director, probably not as public as the German style by any means, Richard Hughes, but that is the nature. It is all geared up on that basis. Michael Edwards and people, we said the last time, didn't we? People talk about, he's a geek, he's in charge of the nerds. It's not so much that Edwards is a geek himself. He just understands the values of having the geeks in the right place, having the right people doing the right jobs and being in charge of the structure. So that's the big thing, Trev. The band is back together, but the band is touring Europe. Very much so. This is the sort of Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, Rumours era. We've all gone European and we are touring that way, baby.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing what the rider is backstage, Dave. I can imagine there's going to be a few little Dr. Peppers on there and a few other things. Something to keep you happy, no doubt, as well. Maybe you do like a cherry Pepsi. So let's hope that you're looked after. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I have further questions. Not to get too bogged down in this, but just again for clarification's sake, when you say that Ward, and by the way, of course, Ward coming back, the timing of it is fantastic, isn't it? It's like it is full on. Like I've said in a few shows, it is full on Revenge of the Nerds. The timing is insane. Jurgen goes next day, or the day before Jurgen goes, he's confirmed you don't need to be a genius to do the sums. But when you say that he's an FSG employee, I get a bit nervous because I then start to think, because you're tying it into the multi-club model, I then start to think, well, everything you've described him doing there will be in benefit or for the benefit of LFC currently, until it's not, until there's club number 2 and maybe club number 3, and then his role becomes a lot more substantial and his attention becomes more divided. Am I right in seeing it that way? And do you see then that there'll be a further tier of management should another club come in?
It's a great question. It's kind of the great unknown in it, isn't it, really? Because we all have this ideological idea where we both said we're not always the biggest fan in multi-clubs because of it erodes the club's history. But if we're going to get into that business, the idea that Liverpool sits at the top of that pinnacle, don't they? A Ponzi scheme, as some might say, and it all feeds in that way and the talent funnels through. I mean, we've even seen the suggestions, nothing definite, but Vasco da Gama, who are under ownership by 777, the shysters that are kind of loaning Everton money at the moment, if the courts may have you believe. That's a distressed asset to the suggestions there. And it fits nicely into that, doesn't it? That we send these players, we develop them and they end up at Liverpool. That's the perfect answer I should give you. The question is, Trev, a bit like you, do we know that will be the case? Do we know all focus will be on LFC? You hope so, and you hope we have that. I shouldn't use this term, but I'm just going to almost feed a club, don't we, in the multi-club model? Because that's what we care about as LFC fans. People can mince it how they want, but if we're going to get into this gig, that's what we think about it, isn't it, really? So you hope, but do you want me to say that with 100% confidence? I would be outright lying to you, pal.
Can't be done. Although now that you've mentioned Vasco da Gama, I'm incredibly excited because they have one of the best kits in world football, and I look forward to wearing my hipster second kit on a regular basis, just to be a proper wanker about it. We also have lots more Liverpool news before we get too lost in the woods here on speaking about just that one thing. So the Edwards thing is very interesting. The new structure thing is very interesting, but there are some specific stories that are starting to break. One, I happen to know you were sitting on for a while, and it's good to see it in the show this week. Talk to us about Joe Gomez, because I think this is going to take people by surprise.
Yeah, it was Sam Maguire got the scoop, came out with it, didn't he? It's kind of a bit of a wider piece because people have sort of heard musings of this, but I think they've gone 2-2 and got 27. With the changes, everyone, I mean, we're changing everything, aren't we, Trev? Like, think about the club. Everything's going out. It's literally like we have ripped up our marriage, sent the kids away, and we've moved to a kibbutz and called ourselves Pablo type of thing. We are changing everything at LFC in this realism. And people took that as like they've told all the players, if you want to go. That's not quite the truth. What's the suggestions are, and you speak to a few journalists about this, Liverpool have obviously aware of the big change, the nature of it. And it's kind of, we would understand if you felt maybe it was the time for pastures new, some of you, a change, whatever that may be. And there's an understanding to that, isn't there, Trev? As much as we all want to believe that everyone's desperate to play for Liverpool and it's the only club and all that. We have that understanding if we're honest. So where does Joe Gomez fit into this? Sam Maguire got the scoop to say that, Joe Gomez has spoken to the club and said, now, just to be clear, because Joe Gomez, as you would say, is a cracking set of lads. He really is. He's not kicking, he's not screaming, he's not forcing. What he said that is he's a Southern boy, as per Sam's put out. And if there's a good deal that suits everyone and can be done, and there was figures in that article, wasn't there, talk around sort of 25, 30 million pounds, then he wouldn't mind it being entertained just because of, he is a London boy, isn't he? He is from the South. I think people have always had that suspicion. And also, it wasn't in the article, but you start to think, Trev, you could understand it, couldn't you? He's always been a Klopp favourite. He's always been very loyal to Klopp, and he's had all sorts of roles, be it, I mean, he's been fourth choice right back and fourth choice centre back at times. So you kind of understand it. And by the way, you think of a lot of clubs down south, Joe Gomez gets straight in their first team. Let's not pretend anything different for 1 second. So this is one. Sam Maguire got the scoop. I don't think there would be any surprise if maybe Joe Gomez does decide and the club authorises it and everyone goes in a nice departful manner.
Yeah, I still think that one's going to take a lot of people on the back foot. I don't think a lot of people, and with due respect to Sam's scoop on it, I still haven't heard much chat about it. It's like, again, I think that idea that people are still in denial and they don't want to believe anything till they see it. But that is quite a shocker to hear that he's kind of willing and more than willing to entertain the idea of a move away. There are several of our big names whose contracts need sorting. Obviously, Virgil is one, and Virgil's distress levels yesterday were, I think, a shocker for a lot of people. But really, is it that much of a shock when you think about it? When you think about what his relationship with Jurgen Klopp has done to elevate his position on the world stage, that were a place where almost everybody considered him at one stage as the best or one of the very, very, very best defenders in the world. Virgil and his contract, interesting. I know you've got an angle on that. Mo Salah and his contract. There was great positive noises being made in the immediate wake of the whole Klopp v Salah thing. And then that's gone a bit quiet since. And then, of course, there's the very, very disconcerting and unrelenting stories about Trent being sort of pushed by people close to him. Maybe walk us through those three, because I'll tell you what, it's going to have a big impact on Arne Slot, whether or not he gets all those three to work with or not.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, even VVD yesterday walking through the mix zone. So David Lynch, a few others released it about at the same time. So you get the feeling there was an embargo there. Said that there's nothing definitive update I can give you. There's nothing definite. And also, as a lot of quoted, there's nothing definitive on the table. Now, a bit of a case of wording, and people are like, oh, that's not true. Is it? Careful wording is the phrase I would use, Trev. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that until actually someone puts the contract right under your nose, you can say, well, there's nothing on the table. However, if we have a chat and say provisionally, would you like to extend? Would this is it, and we, you almost, as the phrase would go, the old school, shake hands on it, so to speak, and then you sign at a later. That's been all the suggestions a lot have had. So you never know, and you're never going to say 100%, but I am, out of the three right now, Virgil would be the one I'm more confident with, I have to be honest. Even the way he was talking yesterday, he still mentioned I'm looking forward. It intrigues me, the proposition of Slot coming in and these types of things. So you never know for definite, but based on what's coming out, Virgil's the more confident one. Salah. When you ask round, it's so different. I mean, Rami Abbas, if you go back sort of 3 years or 2.5 years, couldn't shut him up, could you? Especially when how silent is Rami at the moment? Remember the last time you heard anything from Salah's camp or anything like that? And it's the one thing, as a lot of people are getting, this is not a surprise or shock, but especially if you have the patch journos have said, the Salah camp are aware all the chips are on their side of the table. He still has and now I know people will go, oh, well, they can force the sale. It's not that easy with someone like Mo Salah, is it? Especially with the thing, if Mo Salah does not want to go, he could ride out the last year of that deal, couldn't he? Quite easily, especially if Liverpool, and understandably Michael Edwards and the crew thought, well, we're not going to renew him on the same money, so we give him a lesser, all the things we could discuss. But there is an eerie silence on that at the moment, and it's all a bit like, feels high stakes at the OK Corral job type of thing, does it? But I would keep that in mind, everyone. All the chips are on Mo Salah's side of the table. Think about that. And the final one, I mean, yeah, Dave H talked about it, didn't he? And there's a few people who've said it. Those noises from Tyler, Trev McManaman. Yeah, it's not a secret. It's not a phrase or a saying, whatever you want to call it, we wanted to hear either, is it, particularly, Trev? There's almost if you think what we want to hear, and I know football doesn't work that way, this isn't an ideological world, but we all wanted to hear, like, this is my boyhood club, I'm committed to it, I want, what, I'm not saying that makes Trent wrong for not making those public musings, but we're not hearing that. The only things that are definitive that we've heard are the Trent McManaman thing, which it doesn't make you confident, does it? It doesn't make you sleep easy type of thing. So right now, long story short, Trev, 3 big players, 3 big contracts, shitting it, put it that way.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Dave. Knowing what we know about the new sort of main shake in Michael Edwards, and knowing what we know about how the system is likely to work, was there ever really any doubt but that there would be tense contract scenarios and that things would be played close to the chest and that there would not be great rushes, probably inspired by a famously loyal manager to say, yeah, he's going nowhere and it's all good, we'll get it signed.
Yeah.
So it's really not much of a shock. It's just really uncomfortable, isn't it? That's the thing. People are used to, I think, a more sort of heart in the sleeve thing, and it would be bad if one of those was sort of up for grabs. The fact that three are up for grabs is quite difficult for a lot of people to get their head around. But I suppose we just have to have faith that if they're building a squad, they'll understand the value of keeping at least two of the three. You wouldn't be surprised though, Dave, would you? And I mean, what's your gut feeling? Would you, if I asked you to go down and put a sneaky tenner on whether or not 1, 2, or 3 would leave, which of those numbers would you pick? I'd be inclined to think that for purely cash flow reasons, I can see one of those guys going, and the one who's going to realize the most money is Mo. More than likely. Trent could realize a big fee as well. So I just see that being very much part of the thinking, whether we like it or not, Dave.
Yeah, I think if you were to ever get behind closed doors with Michael Edwards, I think the first thing you would say, well, in my model, we would not have a situation where 3 stars of the team were in the last year of contracts. That just would not have happened to start with. But here we are. For me, Trev, he kind of becomes Teflon Michael Edwards in this scenario, doesn't he? Because if any of these leave, he's got that, well, they got to the last years, I couldn't get them to commit. So he's got that for himself as well. At the same time, you asked me a fair question there, and I hate answering this. I think Virgil reduce. I'd stick money on that. If you ask me to stick the money on it, Trev, my gut tells me Mo goes for free in a year. I genuinely mean that, and rides it out for the year. Trent, I would just not put any money on either way. Do you know what? My cash is precious, and if you honestly ask me at this moment in time, I mean, you go over the permutations. The only thing is, there's a little French friend of the show is set to move to Real Madrid this summer, isn't he? And that's where the musings have been and the suggestions on that basis. So you can't see it this summer because there's a lot of their cash set to be tied up in him, isn't it? Which then makes you think back to, but does that mean, as Tyler's been saying, Trent McManaman, the free and all that? And you phrased it right, especially Trent. It sits very, very uncomfortably right this second.
Really does. Really does. Like, I mean, that's the most disconcerting part of everything for me at the moment. Now, with Thiago and Matip getting their farewells on Sunday, and nice to see players getting an opportunity to get waved off. Why that would cause you to talk about other players who didn't get that opportunity, I don't know. I really don't know. The amount of moaning happening on the back of, a presentation organized by a big organization in front of a crowd. What did people expect was going to be happening? There was going to be sort of off the cuff, improvisational, Klopp doing a tight five stand up. Come on. What did people expect was going to happen? The moaning is remarkable. But anyway, the lads got their send off. That's good. But they are, whether we've had them or availability of them over the last year or not, they are excellent footballers and they are key pieces of a squad. Their availability is neither here nor there. Jurgen Klopp got them for his squad. They're supposed to be part of the squad. They need, therefore, replacing. That's interesting. They are 2 contracts, however, and 2 lots of big lots of wages off the books. In terms of extending people who may be a little bit lower key, there's at least one story of a youth who may be getting the chance to stay around for a bit longer. What do we know around that, around people who are actually making positive noises about staying around? And I hate to throw this one in here, but is there any further goalkeeper news around Queeveen?
Yeah, well, you've thrown a right grenade at me there, haven't you? So let's go through this one. So, yeah, Big Joel, God bless him. What a free transfer. What a player. So he left. Probably the one thing that was released, it kind of got ignored. It was quite an interesting story for me. The club went against Jurgen Klopp's suggestion to offer Joel Matip an extension.
Wow.
Now, I think a lot of people were like, yeah, but come on, Joel Matip's injury record, what he's coming back for, crazy. But and this isn't, I'm not going to try it even on the show for 1 second, diminish anything Jurgen Klopp's done, but it sounds like the club did the right thing there. Thiago goes, like you said as well, wages off the wage bill, especially with Thiago, considerable wages off the wage bill, so that's freed up. One that the club were quite pleased about, actually, and are quite happy with the story. People almost forget about Cade Gordon, don't they? That youngster, and he's had growing problems, injury pay, all sorts of things, bless the kid. Since he's come back sort of later on in this season, if you talk to anyone who's got any sort of, say or around the academy or the youth teams, they really like what they've seen. And it was kind of a big period. And they're like, get that contract in front of his nose, get that extension done. This kid is going back. And actually, Trev, so Cade Gordon renewal might not excite people. I understand that it's not the headlines people are looking for, but it is important to keep track of these things because they very much, a lot of people around that area said they would not be surprised to see him involved more with the first team squad. And people who say, oh, well, so what? Like, get a grip, people. Where have you been this season? I'll give you some names. Quansah, Bradley, Dans, Clark, McConnell. Think of all the impact they've had this season. There's nothing wrong with hearing there's another talented youngster, even if he's been there for a little while with Cade Gordon, ready to potentially make that jump up. So, yeah, that is a bit of good news, even if it's not as heralded as some others.
No, and from a purely cynical perspective, obviously we'd all love to see this kid be a success like his mates, be embraced by Arne Slot and maybe find a new role for him in the team. He's highly thought of. But let's not forget also the part of the model where you bring promising players through. Maybe they don't quite make it. Maybe they have some good appearances, some not so good. Mm-hmm. Maybe the likes of a McConnell will make it. Maybe he won't. Maybe the likes of Cade Gordon will make it. Maybe he won't. But they're very likely to have a good career elsewhere and be part of the sort of income of future Liverpool. So these are all important things and worth keeping a track on for sure. If we move away from our club, which always pains us to do, and to the wider Premier League, there are a couple of clubs that we have to spend a little bit of time on because there's some bananas stuff going on around the place. I'm lost as to what's going on at West Ham. We'll start there. But we will also be visiting with Chelsea because, of course, we'll also be visiting with United because, of course, we'll do a roundup as well. But let's start with West Ham, who are not always top of our list when it comes to the comings and goings. The main movement here seems to be around who's going to replace David Moyes. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was the worst kept secret, wasn't it, in football for the wider Prem, that West Ham were not going to keep David Moyes even. And they did such a bad job of it. It was quite clear, the Amarin news, they were interviewing, all that. They just handled it quite badly. Now, I know some people will say about, oh, well, they've got to interview and do all this. And I get that. But we've always historically, Trev, haven't we? The way Liverpool, we do our business behind closed doors. That's the way a professional, efficient club is run, which West Ham did the opposite. So, yeah, Moyes is gone. That's confirmed. Lopetegui's been known as coming in for ages, absolutely ages. And now we're just waiting for the official confirmation. So he's coming in. And by the way, Trev, I mean, it got messy at West Ham. It's not a happy sort of dressing room all round. I mean, Tim Steidten, the director of football, just to be clear, was banned from the dressing room for the last few weeks by David Moyes.
Oh, explain that one to me.
Again, without knowing, sort of speaking to them intimately, the big suggestions were that Moyes wanted certain players, and people will say, oh, Moyes is the old buy British beef, that type of thing. Whereas very much Steidten's the sort of the Continental, came from Leverkusen, the sporting director, I'll find the players. That's what I've been brought in to do and negotiate. And naturally, there's probably going to be some bit where Moyes maybe didn't want the players that Steidten was bringing, or vice. You know how these types of things work. It feels a bit like if Wish.com made the Brendan Rodgers, Michael Edwards row, that would be the kind of version that you get in as pure analogies of people like those. So that was a bit wacky. Now, the playing staff, I mean, Bowen, if you speak to sort of people around West Ham, Bowen got a massive renewal, didn't he? Massive contract. And it's known that he's a big earner out there. The problem is all the other talents now are not the happiest with it. So everyone knows about Paqueta and the City links before the betting scandal last season. And by the way, that betting date that they mentioned for the case has passed. So no one really knows what's going on with this whole Paqueta scenario. No one's come out and said, all the charges are dropped, we'll proceed into prosecution. It's just a little bit of limbo. But if that gets dropped, brushed under the carpet, whatever you want to call it, don't be surprised if people are back in for Paqueta, and especially he's got a release clause that's known and things like that. So that's one thing. Second thing is that's well known. Ornstein's confirmed it. Kudus has got a release clause, hasn't he? Now, no one's come out and said, there's been suggestions, I've seen rumours, it's important to say that, but no one's got it unequivocally like it's X amount. I've seen an article with 60, I've seen articles with 85, but funnily enough, the articles for 85 are the West Ham ones who, funnily enough, might not want what they see as one of their best assets being touted around for obvious reasons. So there's that scenario. I mean, so Lopetegui could well be coming into the business with a lot of the top players wanting to go. Players coming to sort of ends of contracts, getting older, like Antonio. Players who've got release clauses that probably want to go, in all honesty, like Kudus and Paqueta. And to be honest, Trev, if they can get good money for those two, fair play, because people forget about West Ham. They got massive, massive money, didn't they, for Declan Rice the summer before. Don't be surprised if Steiden's there going, yeah, if I can get big bucks for Paqueta and Kudus, give it me, because I can reinvest that in 5 players and improve the overall squad that way as well. What Lopetegui makes of that, God knows. But yeah, it's just a bit wacky at West Ham is how I would describe it right now.
How's that feel? But I feel like there's an entertainment aspect to it that I'm very much enjoying. I love that little tale about Steidten being banned from the dressing room. That's fantastic stuff. Speaking of entertainment and fantastic stuff, here we go on the Chelsea bandwagon again. It's summer. There's a window about to open. There's a market. This means they are going to go bananas as per usual. There's too much in your even admittedly condensed note here for me to even start picking things out. So I want you to just take it whatever way you want to take it. But do give us, maybe at the start, the news about this Estevao kid. There's been a lot of chat about him.
Yeah. Now, speaking to sort of the South American football experts that we have on the pods and things, they are raving about this kid big time, Trev. They do feel like he's the next one, there's always a next one in Brazil, isn't there? But the next Endrick, as they're saying, same club, the next superstar. Now, all the suggestions are that Chelsea are going to do a deal, and Romano and a few others have said this, not for this coming season, but for 2025, i.e. spends another season with Palmeiras. Now, again, dependent on what fees you believe, or whether you subscribe to the British journalist or the foreign journalist, whichever one, the total package you're talking is around up to 65 million euros. But again, a large chunk of that is made with add-ons potentially as well. If Chelsea get him, though, be really clear on this. A lot of the South American journos that we've had, like Tom Robinson, Nathan Jones, all days, Chelsea are getting a super duper talent along with Kennedy Praez. They're really they're paying big bucks. We can't mince that, but they're tapping into that market. So it will be interesting because they're still up apparently against the likes of Bayern and all these teams. However, all these teams don't offer 7 or 8 year deals on massive money. And before people start shouting like the Premier League, stop that, blah, blah. No, the Premier League stopped the amortized, but they stopped it at 5 years, didn't they? They won't let you do it over that, but they can't stop you offering those length of contracts. That's a really important distinction. So I suspect that one gets done. That's what my gut tells me. Outgoings as well. They've got Omari Hutchinson on loan at Ipswich. He's been a star for them this season, got them promoted. It's suspected Ipswich or some other club will come in for him. And there's still a few others in the mix as well, departures-wise. I mean, all your Chelsea journalists still say that they're shopping around Trevor Chalobah, player that can play right back, centre back, left back, looking for 25 million. Conor Gallagher, Spurs and Villa, that's still in the mix, which will make people think, well, hold on. Just hold on a second, Dave, because Chelsea specifically have said, as recent stories, they're not in this financial trouble and they don't need to sell, as people suggested, and they're not scrambling. This is where we thank God for Sweeney Todd on this show. Because, Trev, this is unbelievable. Remember how he almost caught the Premier League out with the 7, 8, 9 year contracts and they had to shut it down to 5? I don't know who his lawyer is, but this is like, Johnny Cochran. This is the guy you want if you're in the courtroom to find the loophole. Now, EFL, the Championship and below, their rules are really, really distinct. You can't sell assets to someone in your group. If you're in like a multi-club or different, you can't do it at all. The Premier League is a little bit different. They say it's not as distinct as in you could still potentially do it, but you can't overvalue the asset, i.e. you can't sell a 5 million player for a 100 million pound player. That's the distinctness of the law. Thinking, why the frig are we talking about this, Dave? Because here's the rub. Chelsea and Blueco, remember that name, Trev? Anacott Steel likes Blue Horseshoe and all this. We're back to them days again. Chelsea have sold their training ground to themselves, essentially. Cobham. Amazing. It's brilliant. Chelsea have sold the hotel to themselves and this Blueco, this Blue Steel, this group. The names aren't almost important. It's just the beauty of the whole thing. Now, this is important to say, Trev. That has not been fully ratified by the Premier League yet. And do you remember that beautiful date that we talked about, that 30th of June, where everything's like for your accounts for the year and everything gets ratified and that? This is really big. Everyone's watching this with interest because if the Premier League ratify those deals, other clubs will be like, we need to start selling assets back to ourselves. Like, can you imagine like the City Football Group sell us that pencil sharpener back to ourselves for 100 million type of thing? Like, it will be amazing. Now, how do I put this? The suspicion, and the purist will say, it's not the spirit of the law. Yeah, but we ain't talking the spirit of the law with Chelsea ever, aren't we? We're talking the letter of the law. Chelsea, again, at the forefront of everything, like how transfers, rules, and everything's applied. But we're not even talking about just players. And Sweeney Todd is back on top of the game as well in a different way. And I can't wait to see what happens with this.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.